and central agencies for Jewish education. We realized there wasn't a one-stop shop for professional development programming, so my colleagues and I generated a list of topics, and we asked that they write the articles. And as we compiled the list, the book took shape, and it was apparent that you couldn't have an inclusive classroom without an inclusive community. And the original list of topics grew and grew, as Sandra told you. Parent power was and remains a major driving force in the inclusion movement. Thus, the stirring descriptions of the journeys of parents and siblings of individuals with disabilities that start the book. Also, parents are your allies, as you have discovered, as you seek to help them and their children bloom. 537 pages, and 9 years later, the book was ready for publication. It was a labor of love, and we hope that you will find it a good resource. I started my work in Jewish special education, in quotes, 40 years ago. I've seen changes in terminology from mainstreaming to inclusion, and I've even seen integration used. I've seen labels change from retarded to developmental disability, and now intellectual disability. Labels have changed, but the commitment remains the same. The inclusion movement has blurred the parameters between special and regular education across the continuum of settings, and that's a mixed blessing. Special education is essentially good education. Each student in our classrooms could probably benefit from a good dose of special education perspective. Whatever we call it, it still deals with our effort to enable each individual to reach his potential across his lifespan, from identification and intervention in Jewish early childhood programs, to congregational and day school classrooms, to youth groups and camps, to continuing education for adults in synagogue services, every aspect of Jewish religious and cultural life. 40 and even 20 years ago, we fought, I nudged, a lot of us nudged, to put the topic of serving diverse learners on the agenda of the Jewish community. Today, many communities across North America mark JDAM, Jewish Disability Awareness Month, in February, and the ideological movements all have committees on inclusion and dealing with individuals with special needs. Inclusion is mentioned as a goal of most congregations and schools. Many day schools have learning specialists on staff and are trying to accommodate students with a broader range of needs. There are also model school within a school programs. There are camps that live inclusion. Now, all of this is very gratifying, but it's only a partial picture of what is and what should be. The reality of the actual level of support towards implementation in many of these settings can be less gratifying. In recent years, a number of central agencies for Jewish education have been reconfigured, or no longer exist. With tight budgets, learning specialists can be considered a luxury, and so there are reduced staff positions, or they've disappeared entirely. Boston is unique because of the Find Gateways program that can be of assistance across the continuum of settings. And Yasha Koach to Boston and its Gateways program. The more prevalent situation is less encouraging. Understanding that the majority of teachers in congregational religious schools are not formally trained teachers, it's a challenge for them to deal with a wide range of learning aptitudes and styles, as well as behavioral issues, all within a tightly packed time frame. Support for these teachers can be spotty, and that's a polite term, so that a youngster with a unique learning style or special learning need is often overlooked, especially if the parents haven't shared this information with the education director. Is this true inclusion? Is it beneficial for all involved? I frequently characterize Jewish special education as the canary in the mines of Jewish education. That image probably dates me, so let me explain. Many years ago, canaries were sent down into the coal mines to detect unsafe air because they're so vulnerable. If the canaries died, then the mines were emptied. In the move to be inclusive, we may be undercutting our mission to enable each of our students to reach his full potential because of our reluctance to label. Thinking ahead, to fulfill our mission, Jewish special education in the traditional sense may need to be reconfigured so that it becomes part and parcel of enhanced general education. As all teacher preparation should include extensive work, more than one course, on recognizing and accommodating diverse learning needs and behavior management without labels. People First language stresses the individual, not his disability, but he still requires accommodation for his disability, and he should be getting it, however it is described. Now, this is like preaching to the choir. You're here because you are among those who recognize the challenge and are prepared to meet it. I wish you hatzlacha, success in your holy work as you seek to reach and teach each of your charges, whatever you're setting.